Welcome, people. This is the regional touring panel. I'm the moderator, which I entirely knew what that was before signing up for this. I'm Brett Cassidy. I have been road dogging for over 10 years, from Victoria to Halifax and everywhere in between. Now do that largely for a living. Amy, who are you?
I'm Amy Nelson, and same, except I've never been to Halifax.
And Meg?
My name is Meg Thompson, or Meg's Benedict, and yeah, same. I've been a touring musician for somewhere around 7 years in various projects. Yeah.
Awesome. And everyone in here, has anyone been on tour? Show of hands. A couple of you. Awesome. Sweet. Let's dive into some questions. Why do you guys tour?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
What drives you to?
The love of making music with people that I connect with. I feel extremely rewarded when I go to a new place and somebody feels like they've gotten something out of the art that I've shared. And you get that when you're in town and when people come to your shows, but when you experience someone's experience of seeing something new and the excitement that they share with you, there's something so rewarding about that, because you've made a difference in their lives. And you've also, furthered and deepened your connection with your own music.
Nice.
That's a beautiful answer. I feel the same way. Like, I feel like music is a very spiritual practice, and doing things that feel new venues, new spaces can kind of like awaken that feeling inside of you so that it's not a routine. But I also feel like touring is something, yes, I've went on tours where I've lost money, but I do feel like touring is like a way of making money, because you're playing in new audiences where more people can buy your vinyl who don't already own it. And it kind of challenges you as an artist because it's so challenging. And I think if you're stagnant and just kind of stay where you are, life can get kind of monotonous and you can kind of just get used to it. Mm-hmm. And I think like when you travel, the long hours of travel and the, very scary feelings that happen when you like arrive to a venue and you're like, does anyone know me here? Does anyone know I exist? And then you have to get up on stage night after night and bring your heart to the stage and stuff. It's really hard sometimes. Definitely. But I feel like touring kind of allows you to see if you're cut out for that or not. And every time I come back from a tour, I feel like I have the greatest nap of my life. And I feel like I'm alive, and it's worth it a lot of the time.
Nice.
Oh, can I add one more thing?
Yeah,
I love what you said too, about just building your character.
Yeah.
And discovering more about yourself. Being on tour is one of the only things that made me truly realize how strong I am as a woman.
Yes.
Because it takes a lot of, it takes a thick skin, and it takes so much energy, and it takes being okay with uncertainty and discomfort too. And
you're interacting with new people every night, which like I'm a pretty introverted, shy person. If you've seen my show, you may not think I am, but to like go to a new venue and like have a sound person show up and them not know what kind of music you make, and then sometimes the like presumption that you make a certain music because of the way you dress or the way that you look or because you're a woman, and then you get there and it's like the challenge again of like having to be like, I deserve to be here, and the dialogue that intercepts sometimes with performance when you just play in your own town. Sometimes I feel like sound people get to know you and venues get to know you, and so they come to expect what you do. And sometimes it's fun to like play a new room in a completely different audience in a way where it's like you're shocking them, or you're like shocking yourself in a way to see the interaction be new. But I do feel like, sometimes it is so challenging as a woman, because you're like, oh yeah, that thing that I overcame in my own town is here again. And I've been doing this for a long time. It's frustrating.
Definitely.
Nice. Yeah, so true. When you're booking a tour, especially like early on when you were fresh to touring, how did you decide what cities you were going to play in and what venues you were going to play at?
You want to go first?
Sure. I've been really lucky because I've had my partner plays music, and I have really lovely friends that are very encouraging of me, because I'm someone that like they know that I'd probably just stay home all the time. I could be a hermit really easily. It's like my natural way. But like an animal in captivity, I kind of get down when I'm that way. And so I feel like I've had people in my life encourage me. And sometimes in that encouragement, they knew people in other towns or had friends in other towns that encouraged me to play those towns. And then I feel like there's sort of just the like Canadian circuit of places that have venues that exist with a built-in PA system and a sound person when you arrive, and sort of like, you know, something in place so that you know that it's like a legit thing to do. I mean, I've experimented in playing like small towns, and like sometimes it's great and sometimes it's a place that never puts on music. And then sometimes you're going to a venue that you're like, I'm so excited to play this venue because my friends have played it before. I think that like deciding on where to play often just like, comes down to the people that you may already know in those towns, which you meet from touring. Like it's hard for me to imagine what it was like when I first went out because that was so long ago. But when I first went out, it was like, I didn't know what existed. I didn't have friends in those places. But I feel like the more you play music, the more it becomes a community completely across Canada. And those people are willing to help you. I think you just have to ask.
And say someone didn't have any of those contacts. Do you have any tips of how someone might start building their network up?
Yeah, well, as Amy said, it's definitely a snowball effect. So the more people you talk to and just share your goals, the more people are gonna like keep you in mind, think of things down the line. Maybe they'll get in touch with you later and say like, hey, I thought of this thing that might help you. So not being afraid to ask for what you need and to share your dreams with people when you're talking to them is super huge. Practically, unfortunately, there's no way around just doing your research too, doing your market research. And that just basically looks like, deciding what your scope is, and then just kind of looking at venues in different cities and measuring them up and kind of starting to keep like a personal list for yourself. Everybody kind of will like define and grow their list of venues with time. But like you touched on, Amy, there are certain venues that are very much better than other venues, like venues that, like you said, have a built-in sound system, or venues that, will provide you accommodations if you play.
Or even settlement at the end of the night. It's clearly communicated. Yeah. Sometimes when you like take a chance and you're like, I'm going to play this venue that doesn't usually do music, sometimes like getting paid can be frustrating because you're chasing someone through email because you don't live there, you can't show up, you can't, that's really hard. I think that also like we do live in a digital age, as annoying as it can be. I feel like if you put yourself out there, I think we spend too much time as artists always kind of like, if we do the social media thing, it's always like sort of this quest to go viral and then like to completely like ignore all these steps that it can take to be a musician. And I think sometimes what people forget, because I've been someone where I'm like, oh, the viral thing can be annoying, that's people's, objective when they're posting. But sometimes when you like stop for a moment and just use social media as kind of like just another form of connecting to people, real human beings on the other side of a screen, that it allows you to sometimes connect to people in towns that they might reach out to you. Like I've been really lucky. I think if you make, I know like on a panel like this, there's probably like ABCs of touring. But I also think at the end of the day, if you put on a show that is compelling and every single time you put your whole self into it and you're not afraid to do something that's weird and memorable, even if it's scary, you might be asked back to a venue, or you might post something online where you're like, I've posted stuff online where it's like half of the comments are people that absolutely hate my singing voice and it sucks. But then I might get an email from someone that's like, I saw that and connected with it. I'd love for you to play my town, or I'm in this band. Do you want to come and open for me? And I feel like, social media can be sort of like, you can treat it like you're pen pals with people and you're putting yourself out there so more people can see you. Yeah. Instead of it always being like, I'm going to get discovered. And then I'm going to forget all these steps that still can matter. Because at the end of the day, what matters is that you put on a show that people come to and they feel something and they want to see it again. And sometimes that takes guts,
Yeah, you're always putting yourself out there. Yeah, I'm a big fan of making internet friends.
Yeah.
It's been my like personal life hack of finding venues and artists is every time I see an artist come across my Instagram or TikTok, I will follow right away and like spam them with comments like, oh my God, I love this. Yeah. If I genuinely like it, which I think is a big part of it, is like only acting in a genuine
Yes. Yeah.
kind of way, not being like, oh my God, you're so
You
good.
can tell the difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I thought of something, just a practical tip, like as far as connecting with what you just said. But if you're thinking of like, where should I go and play? A huge help is going to look at the local artists that are similar to you in those towns. Like you said, following them, but check out their posts and see where they're playing and see what kind of events they're taking part in. Because maybe there's an event like this in a city that, you know, they're posting about that you could contact. So going and like taking a little peek into other people's communities and seeing where their support is coming from is super helpful. Also, shout out to Julie, who said something about this in the last panel, but Reddit can be a huge help for this. I have typed this Google search into my browser many a times. Best live music venues to play in blank town. And then there's actually, there's a lot of the time you can find, if it's a bigger city especially, you'll find Reddit forums of musicians being like, yeah, I had an experience at this place, but it was bad for this reason, so don't play here. Or yeah, this place was great because of this and that reason. So people, especially artists, understand the importance of sharing knowledge, you know? So I think that you're always gonna get like a heartfelt and genuine answer to, you know, any question that you ask of a musician in your position.
Nice. What role do you guys think collaborations with other artists, venues, promoters play in making a tour successful?
Depends. I think when you're first starting out, it's great to have other people on the bill that already have a built-in following that are in the towns that you're in. I think that's sort of like the standard sometimes. But I also feel like, you know, I've went out and been like, I'm not going to have an opener because that's $150 a night that could go into my pocket. You know, that's gas money. And sometimes taking that risk is like terrifying. But I think sometimes if you like, you know, tangible things like reaching out to college radio stations and with, you know, enough time, I think that's a really important thing too that some people don't do is like, if you are putting on a tour, you need to put it on with enough time to promote it and to make it so that it's like people can think about coming, people can know it's happening, and then people can like buy the ticket or show up to the show. Because sometimes I see people, like I've had friends where they, you know, book a tour and it's in 2 months. And then they're like, no one came or no one, and it's like, that's tough. You have to, there's a lot of preparation that goes into it. But I think like, yeah, collaboration, if you can meet friends in other towns, kind of like what we were saying earlier, that have a built-in fan base. Like I've been an opener to so many friends who've come through town and hoped that, you know, the show, I feel responsible for bringing people to the show so they can see my friend perform. And then my friend can come back and play again. And it's sort of just like that, again, that kind of community circuit. But
And then you go to their city and, and play
you
with
kind
them
of,
there.
you know, you trade places. I think that's important. I think, but it's also like sometimes I think, you know, I've been asked to open before, like if I'm comparing it to people traveling here, sometimes when I don't know that the music is the fit, and I think sometimes they just like are like, oh, you play shows in Calgary, so we'll have you open, and I'm fine to do that. But sometimes I think that it is good to know like what is the music that you're asking instead of just assuming that you're going to get that audience.
Right.
You know, but I'm also like, I don't really believe in genre, so I think it's also that doesn't matter at the same time. My favorite shows I've ever played were with bands that were not country folk, you know, like, because that's always kind of what I'm defined as, and I'm like, I like playing with bands that are outside of that.
Makes it fun for a
It's
listener
really fun,
too.
yeah.
Do we want to take a question?
Yeah.
I think it depends, but I feel like 5 months, 6 months, like the earlier you book it, the more likely you'll have success with it.
Yeah.
I think like even if I started booking in November, I would be thinking of May.
Yeah.
Now, yeah.
I agree with that. 6 months is like, okay, we're comfortable.
Yeah.
Like we can.
And then you have something to look forward to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like my show will be better than I hope.
For sure. I was gonna add something. Oh yeah, like college radio stations, huge. Definitely get in touch and make form relationships with your local radio stations. If you can't see, this is a CKUA pin. I'm here because of CKUA also, just so you know. Like my career was helped so much because of college radio, so they can really do lots for local artists. Also, kind of like on a similar tier, but local live music affiliates will really help you because they're always looking for something to post about, especially if you're looking in smaller towns. Like, for example, Live Music Nelson has done great stuff promoting shows that I've put on through Nelson. And, same like smaller towns like Vernon and things like that. You can find groups that focus on arts on Instagram and reach out to them. But the one last thing I want to bring up on this topic is that people are not going to do work for you. So you have to be prepared to have a bunch of really easily shareable stuff ready to just give to them. And they'll share it, but they want to spend like 10 seconds resharing it. And if it takes any more time for them or any more effort for them, they might not have time to do it. It's not because they don't want to, but just making sure that anything you are like sending out to people to get the word out is like super, super simple.
Yeah, because for them, it's like the third show of the weekend.
Exactly.
For you, it's night one, kind of feeling, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to expand a bit on the actual like booking of the shows, reaching out 6 months out. What do you put in your email when you're reaching out to a venue?
Again, like she said, making it very easy for the person, the recipient, to digest and clickable links. I think it's like, you can have your EPK, you can attach it and stuff like that, but I think it's like really important to have something that kind of showcases what your live show would be.
Yep.
So
definitely.
like live music video or, and formatting it just in a way where it's like, hi, I'm reaching out on behalf of this band or my band. Here are the links. These are the dates that we're looking at. Mm-hmm. And hope for the best. And you have to follow up sometime.
Yep. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Don't be
you have
afraid
to
to
reach
follow
out
up.
again and don't feel shame
Yeah,
for
go
that.
ahead.
Yeah.
There's a follow-up question. If, like, for example, my EPK has a bunch of clickable links in it, would you also then highlight the ones you want them to?
I think you should. I think you should have you can go, my EPK is attached, but I think within the email, you should have a clickable link.
Make it as easy as possible because they're getting 1,000 emails.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
like, live video example?
Yeah, live video, like a live video is great. If you don't have a live video, like something that is like you playing. But I think live video is preferred.
And a live video doesn't have to be elaborate. Like you can get your friend with their cell phone to shoot a full song at a show.
Definitely. I was going to say, I actually go a little bit more specific often too. If you have like multiple assets and multiple, you have like some variety in your music too, which my band very much does, I will pick a specific song if I'm playing a rock venue and I'll send them a specific song of mine that's a rock song. If we're playing a cafe, I will send them a chiller, jazzier folk song. So you want to like, again, just your like, best practices for social media, first 5 seconds. You don't want them to like have to take a gamble, or you don't want to have to like you don't want to ask anyone to make any assumptions. You don't want someone to assume that, oh yeah, they sent me this really hardcore thing, but maybe they have softer music. So if you have a variety of music, try and tailor your content to who you're reaching out to and your language too. Be really thoughtful about your language. Don't be like, hey, I want to come play here with my band. Be like, hi, my name is Meg Thompson and I represent the project, this and that. Because removing yourself from the equation or pretending like you have more help than you actually do can sometimes make people see you in a more professional light. So I know people who even just pretend like they have a manager, like literally create a different email and like create a full fake persona. So, I'm not saying you have to do that, but just watch your language for sure when you're reaching out.
Did you have a question over here?
I was just going to follow up with what they're saying. As somebody who does book shows, you make it as easy as possible for me to find your content.
Yeah.
I'm going to book you 10 times more likely if I have to try to hunt to find, a live example of your music.
Yeah.
Or even just to find
Yeah.
Yeah.
which does happen where we'll get an email being like, hey, I'm interested in playing your venue on this date. I'm like, who are you? What kind of
Yes.
music are you bringing?
Yeah.
If I have to look for that, I'm probably on to the next thing already.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like a quick click where it's like you maybe have a couple songs that are tailored to the venue. That's perfect. So.
Thank you. Change gears a little bit. So let's say you go and play a show in Vancouver or something like that, and you really want to start building up a following. Do you have any advice on how artists can start building momentum outside of their home city?
Well, one of the answers that I gave earlier, I think applies here, but definitely just like researching the local artists that are the most similar to you and seeing, just getting in touch with them and contacting them. Canada is not that, we don't have that many people here. So like, if you live in Calgary, chances you have one friend in Vancouver. So don't, or maybe you don't, but hopefully you do, or hopefully you know someone who knows someone, but definitely like, as in addition to just making sure you are posting and appearing, online, just, physically reaching out to people and saying, hey, I'm coming here. I think it makes a big difference, people will come if they can. The bigger cities, the bigger a city you go to, the more competitive a market you're working with, the less money young people have to come and see your show because they're fighting for space, they're fighting to pay their rent. So, getting, just kind of getting like word of mouth happening in that town as much as possible will go a long way to build your credibility. In addition to like just seeing one post from a non-local band. Because you see these like sponsored posts appearing in your Instagram feed, right? Like, band from Saskatchewan is on tour and they're playing in Calgary, and it might look great on your feed, but if you don't have any personal connection to that band, it's really hard to justify like, okay, I'm going to go out and take a risk on this music that I haven't seen before, or I'm going to go to this event instead of another event, for example, because there's so much happening right now too.
I also think it's like, when you first do it, it's your first time. It's kind of like the very first time you're ever on stage, or the very first time you do anything in life. It's not gonna always be a success immediately. Yeah. I think you have to temper your expectations, and what you can focus on is all of those things, but it still is about the show. So like, when you perform, never take it for granted. When you're in a new place, don't take it for granted in your hometown either. But like, when you're the show starts and there's 2 people there, it's like you're gonna perform like there's 100 people there, and then you will be invited back. And as someone that has like, been doing it for a long time in many different formats with different rosters of players with me, the one thing that I've noticed is that it gets better each time you do it. And every once in a while you play a place that you had expectations of that was good last time and isn't good. Like, it does happen. But I feel like, when I first started and I went out, I was like, what am I doing? And I came home feeling really defeated. And I think sometimes accepting that you will feel that way, and that's kind of not accepting like mistreatment or unhappiness, but kind of accepting that like if you're, getting paid through ticket sales and you play Saskatoon and you've never played Saskatoon and 10 people show up, and at the end of the night, your 4-piece band, they're like, here's $100, if that. And actually, no, we're going to give that $100 to the sound guy and you owe us 50. That does happen and it sucks, but it's like one of those things where it's like you can do all that you can to get the people out, and if the people don't show up, you still have to perform in a way that somebody there will want to see you again. And that, like anything, it's like I think about the very first time I recorded or like went up on stage and didn't know how to plug in a guitar and was just like, I know this plugs in, I don't know how this cable works, or like used a tuning pedal, or like just very basic stuff. I was like, what am I doing? And feeling like a fraud. And I still feel like that a lot, but I think that you have to just be like accepting that it's not gonna be this like rock star, amazing show every single night. Even when you feel like you've reached a level where last night's show was really remarkable, you still could get to the next show and feel really defeated. And sometimes the defeat comes from long hours of driving. Sometimes the defeat comes from someone in the band getting a text from home that wasn't pleasant. Like, there's a lot that goes into it, but I think at the end of the day, when you are on that stage and you have that 45 minutes or half an hour or whatever it is, you like leave all of you on there, and it always brings you back. Like, it's like the spark. Like, I always feel that way because I'm someone where it's like I have a lot of chronic pain, and like, so sometimes I'm like in the car and I get there and I'm like, how am I going to go up there and like pretty much shake my ass and sing songs about my most vulnerable feelings and feel like I want to talk to anybody? And I think sometimes just like recognizing that things about it are hard, but it makes it worth it. It's kind of like anything beautiful and that is difficult is worth doing.
Definitely. I thought of one more thing too. Just touching on like ticket sales and going to places for the first time in cities. Sometimes it's better to forego the larger venue with the ticket sales and instead contact a small coffee shop or a restaurant that has a built-in crowd. Because say you're coming to Calgary and you're playing Calgary for the first time ever, you know, if you book an empty venue, it's going to be really hard to fill those people especially if you don't have local support, you know, it's going to be really hard to convince people that you're worth coming to see. But if you go to a place where people already are, especially in a smaller town, it's going to like, you know, you're going to get more eyes on you, even if maybe you make a little bit less money. Maybe they give you like a $200 guarantee or something. You might end up making still more money that way than if you were to try and book out a larger venue and pour energy into trying to sell tickets in this new town. So, yeah.
Nice. I think there's also a lot of work that happens after the show, like making yourself accessible to the people that are in the room. Because if you talk to those 10 people and form a genuine human connection, they're so much more likely to come out the next time. And then now you have a bunch of new friends too.
Definitely.
And maybe success on the road was the friends we made along the way. Say you have a really bad show or someone gets that hard text. How do you keep morale high within the band?
Don't get too drunk.
Yeah.
That's a big one. You know, I mean, there's no way to escape this, but we're working in an industry where you get free alcohol all the time. You are encouraged to drink. You are, you know, it's like it's okay, it's permissible. But if you have several drinks every show, not only are you going to wear your body down, but you'll wear your morale down as well. One like piece of advice that I learned the hard way was like debriefing with your band sober. Super important, because I started to realize, like, one tour that I was on, we would be having like important talks about how things are going, but they would happen at the end of the night when we're all drunk. And it was like, we're all not like, you know, or we would all have like a few drinks in us. So we're not at our most logical, we're not at our most sensitive, we're not at our most, you know, thoughtful. And those conversations can really be like saved and had in the morning, for example. But it is important to have those conversations with your band, like debriefing with your band and just making sure that everyone feels safe to share their feelings. Makes a world of difference when you're stuck in a van with, you know, several people for like a few weeks. Yeah. So yeah, in creating a safe space for sure.
I think having a sense of humor. Like, I don't hire people who can't laugh. I think that's very important for me. Like, I feel like there's been many times where, you wake up the next day and it's like, I get like really bad post-performance blues, I call them, but like, I can't believe I did that in front of people. Who do I think I am? I'm feeling like, what could I have done better? I'm like, have sort of like the perfectionist mindset sometimes, and it can be really troubling. And like, I'll wake up and have a bandmate just be really silly, or I'll be really silly. And I'm like, that does really help, because it allows you to remind yourself. So like at the end of the day, we're like all buddies. We're all friends. Yeah. And laughter's kind of what gets you through those times. But I think also just trying to foster relationships with bandmates where they can talk to you about how they're feeling. I think it's hard sometimes as a woman in bands where it's primarily, you know, men who maybe don't express themselves sometimes, like, you know, in ways where I have to read their mood to know what's going on. And I'm like, did you get a text? Like, is something wrong? And you kind of have to like pull it out of them. And sometimes I'm like, that's an emotional labor I don't want to have to do sometimes, because I feel like I'm already doing that at the show. But I think sometimes like, playing music with your friends is better than playing music with someone that you hire because they're good at music. It makes it easier to handle those kind of like downs. I feel like I've experienced both sides of it, and I would take a lesser musician who was a good hang than a great musician who was a liability. And I've done that, and I don't want to do that again.
It's kind of like a marriage.
Yes.
I feel like everything that I've learned about conflict resolution has been from
100%.
living in a van with 5 stinky boys.
Being in a band is like the closest thing I've ever felt besides like romantic love with a partner where you fight. It's like friends that like, yeah, you go on tour with, or it's a different feeling than it is like just your friends you hang out with all the time. Like I think about friends that I've never been on the road with, who I love dearly. I'm like, you don't know me. Like they know me.
Yeah.
I maybe hang out with you a lot more in town, but when you go on the road with someone, it's like you're seeing them all day. And you're also all having to be like rally at the end of the night to be like, oh, they told us we're going on at 11 and we were here at 4 p.m. for sound check and we just drove like, I've done tours because I'm crazy where I'm like, this person asked me to open the show in Vancouver, but I'm playing in Winnipeg. I'll drive. We'll drive. Like we've driven like crazy routes just to get to the show. And I wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah.
But it's like if you have people around you that are like gung-ho and like excited about what you're making, I think that's important too. Is like, also I feel like morale can also be higher if you have those conversations with your bandmates before leaving town. I think when I think about, most of my friends are like side musicians and not songwriters. And so I feel like I've learned a lot through being friends with so many people who just play music and don't like write it, is that, if you don't tell your bandmates like, hey, here's the expectations of what these shows are, this is what I'm gonna pay you every night. Like being Amy Nelson, I don't feel like I'm a band. I feel like I am a solo entity that brings my friends on the road so we can collaborate and make music happen together. But I feel like I always have to make sure that I know what the guarantees will be for them and that that's expressed before we ever get in the car. Because otherwise I think that's when things get murky, where somebody's like, I don't know what I'm making. And then there's this like weird kind of awkwardness, or like, I'm gonna send you e-transfers the next morning of every gig. Or do you wanna be paid in cash? Like things like that are like, hate having to do and they're awkward. If you get that out of the way, it makes it easier too.
Yeah. Or if you are like a band that's a collective setting up like, okay, we each get a per diem every day.
Yeah.
Or like when I first started touring, we were a band that all had full-time jobs. We were like, okay, the money is going to pay for gas, and then when we get home, like we're gonna buy new shirts or whatever, and just knowing that we're all losing money on this,
Yeah, and it can be anything along that spectrum, from like all the way from there to there, right? It can look like anything, and so that's huge. And write it down, so that nothing gets left to word or hearsay or whatever. Because my mom always taught me that good business keeps good friendships. So treat your friends the way you would any other business partner. Yeah. If you're lucky enough to be touring with your friends, which you're really lucky with. And if you're lucky enough to be fighting with your friends on the road, remember how lucky you are to have friends that care enough to fight you on something. Because not that many people are willing to go head to head.
Totally. I feel that way a lot, where I'm like, you're on this road driving the same distance as me to play songs that I wrote. And I'm like, sometimes it hits me in a way where I'm like, that's very giving of you. Like, that's a very beautiful thing that you care. I've had bandmates where it's like, I feel like they care sometimes more than I do. Like in a way where they're like, we need to do this. I contacted this person, we're doing this thing. And I'm like, thank you. Like, that's incredible. But I think, if you can tour with your friends that you can fight with, that's great. Because there's nothing worse than somebody who you feel like you can't tell them how you're feeling. Because I think that's where animosity builds in relationships, or whatever relationships are. Like even if you have a boyfriend and you're like, I'm not telling him how I'm feeling, it comes out in the wash. It'll show up in some other way. And I feel like music's the same.
How do you keep costs down on the road to make sure that you can pay your friends?
I like that. For me, not staying in hotels. Sleeping on floors sometimes. If you can find friends that know friends or know people that you can stay at, that's like a safe, kind of harbor for just the night. That saves a lot of money. Playing at venues, discussing with venues if they have like the per diem where it's like, hey, you get this much for food. So you're going to the venue and everyone knows, hey, we're going to get a meal tonight, kind of thing. I feel like that helps.
And making sure you know before.
Yes.
And you can ask.
You can ask.
Exactly.
You can be like, hey, would you mind throwing in a meal for us? And sometimes they wouldn't if you didn't ask, but so. Dodge Grand Caravan. Dodge Grand Caravan. Everybody. Get yourself a Dodge Grand Caravan. Best bang for your buck, hands down, no questions asked. And my other, nobody wants to hear this, sadly, because we love our friends and we love big bands. But if you can tour with a small lineup, do it. Do it.
Yeah, for me, I learned to play the guitar.
Yeah.
I didn't have to have a bass player. So every time if I show up and I'm like, I got a full band, it's just a drummer. As long as I have the drummer, I'm a full band.
And
That's
it's
always
fierce. If you haven't seen Amy's show. But yeah, you know, hurt feelings aside, if, you know, you're a bigger band, you know, it's just going to be harder for you. There's no question, you know, there's no way around that. But playing as a small lineup really, it grows your musicianship exponentially because you get a little better at listening, you get a little bit better at playing, and you start to like find redundancies in your sound, and everybody just starts to kind of like fill space in a different way once you really like peel things back. And then when you add people back in, it sounds way better because it there's like sonic spaces being left for everybody, you know?
And you can do that small cafe show as a duo a couple times in a city, and then when you know you're going to have, okay, we know now we have 40 or 50 tickets we can sell,
we
then
can
you
bring the band.
bring out the big band.
Yeah.
And if you do have the big band, like if you're done a lot of shorter tours where you just make sure that in every city you know that there's going to be a drum kit there, because that takes up
that's huge.
half of the van.
That's huge, Smaller vehicles if you can, cheaper in gas. Not have to. The drum.
Don't bring out the 410 bass cab. You don't need it.
Take advantage of Long McQuaid too.
Yeah,
you know, you
rentals.
can like rent something in you know Toronto and drop it off in Winnipeg or Vancouver, and you know, so that's a huge resource that if you didn't know, only Canadians have. This does not exist in America. This does not exist in Europe. There is no such thing as like Long McQuaid and the convenience of Long McQuaid anywhere else except for our country. So it's crazy.
I want to kind of loop back to like talking about asking for dinners. What are some other important things to ask when you're confirming a show at a venue?
If there'll be a sound person.
Yes.
What kind of PA system it is. Will there be monitors? Like backline situation. And what is the sound person getting? Because I have showed up where I'm like, oh yeah, there's a sound person, and they're taking like, you know, $150 out of what I'm making, and I think, wow, I would have just added another friend in the car that does sound. Luckily, like everyone in my band are mostly sound people, so it's kind of lucky. But yeah, sometimes you get there and you're like, oh, this person that's doing sound is like just a bartender. You know, and not that there's anything wrong with being just a bartender. That's great. I love seeing a bartender, but I don't really want a bartender doing my sound if that's not their expertise. And so sometimes, that can be frustrating because you want to put on the best show with the best sound possible. I think like the sound stuff is really important to ask. That's usually I usually ask that before I ask what's for dinner.
If you can ask like, you know, if you can just clear your financial situation up front, you know, that's great. And if they don't want to be upfront about that, maybe that's a red flag too. And I think it's also, you know, I think it really kind of depends on the person on the other end who actually replies to your email, because sometimes they're going to be really nice and maybe they'll offer you more than you would expect. Like, you know, maybe they're going to help you find a place to stay. Or, you know, but you never know until you ask, right? So just kind of gauging the situation a little bit and, you know, seeing if that person maybe is willing to help you. What else? What else would you ask?
I found one thing that was a shocker to me is realizing how spoiled we are in Calgary, that there's always a person at the door. Like, Calgary is so good at having someone at the door, and it was a shock to me to find out that the band was running the door and also had to provide the float and stamp. Like there's just nothing like that's on you. And like making posters too. Calgary venues spoil us with making awesome posters, and in so many other cities they won't do that for you.
That's very true.
Yeah, that's how I had to learn how to be a graphic designer. I'm like, yeah, sure.
The more you can do yourself, the better.
Yeah. Non-music related, what are your tour must-haves on the road? What do you have to put in your bag?
Advil,
Yes.
probably glitter eyeliner,
Yes.
a brush,
Yep. A brush. Yep.
deodorant. That's very important.
Yeah.
Oh, I keep a stick of deodorant in my saxophone
I think that's the
case.
way it should
Nice.
That is like game changer, everyone. Because then when you're done your show and you're putting your instrument away, and then you're like, oh, I can talk to all these people who want to talk to me without
Yeah.
worrying about the way I smell.
be. Yeah, and I'm not in a van for 8 hours,
Yeah.
making everyone wonder why I smell like that. Yeah.
Yes.
You're sweating and
Oh, allergy pills. If you're someone who struggles with allergies and you're crashing on people's floors, maybe they have a cat. So bring your allergy pills. That's huge. I bring a yoga mat because sitting in a car for many hours.
Yeah, I always
gets
bring
you
a
all crimped
pillow.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
recently that's like a new development in the last 2 years. I start packing a pillow. I used to be like, I'm the kind of person where it's like I take the smallest bag possible so everyone else can like put as much as possible, and I'll literally sit. Like I've sat in a car just to be able to have a smaller car with like my guitar on me and a merch case, and I'm like, I'm happy. I'm just excited to be going somewhere that's not my house. And then it's like my legs hurt by the end of it, but like, you know, if you can pack light, that's great. But yeah, I've realized that like it is nice to have like a pillow because you don't know where you're sleeping. And I'm someone like I really struggle with sleeping. I get insomnia a lot, and I really struggle with like the first night somewhere, like even in the nicest hotel ever, which I'm not getting on the road, but in the rare times that I've had a really nice hotel, I can't even sleep in it the first night because I just feel like I don't know why. But if I pack my own pillow, it's like I feel like I'm at home. You know, it's kind of like when you're a baby and a kid, and you have a teddy,
Yeah.
and there's something in the pheromones or like the smell of the teddy that makes you feel safe and close to your mom. And I feel like the pillow does that for me with my cat and my boyfriend. Yeah.
Nice.
Totally. Circling back to the yoga mat too, I have found, whether or not you do yoga, but putting down a yoga mat in a space that isn't your own just creates a tiny piece of the world that you can actually just have to yourself for a moment, which when you're like shoved in a van with people, constantly being overstimulated, constantly having things to do, just being able to like set aside a physical space for yourself in a corner and just like be there and have it be your own space, that was huge. So like a yoga mat served that for me. It can
Even
be
if
a
it creates
blanket.
like ritual or routine.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think a toothbrush too, by the way. But, like, yeah, I think having some sort of ritual that you would do maybe at home, I feel like I'm more likely to do it on the road. Like I feel like even if it was like meditation or something, I feel like I can practice it better when I'm traveling than when I ever am at home, which sometimes makes me, I question, I'm like, I'm a fraud. I don't do this at home. But it's like when you do it, sometimes I think it is important to have something that is only yours. Yeah.
Totally.
I like to bring a pair of like earbud headphones because
Yeah.
they're smaller, and then when my band starts talking about Marvel, I can escape. I'm like, I don't know,
Yeah.
Spider-Man's cool, whatever. See you later.
Yes, that's huge. That's huge.
What else do you do to try to keep yourself as healthy as is possible when you're on the road for especially longer stretches?
Oh, I haven't learned that yet. I don't know. I kind of just do the same things I do at home when I feel like I have poor mental health. I look at like pictures and videos of monkeys online. Try to reconnect to the natural world through my phone.
I make room in the vehicle for like a small cooler, and I bring like hummus and veggies.
Oh,
Nice.
there you go.
Even just having like a bit of hummus and veggies every
Yeah.
day, like
Eat
just
the
some vitamins.
vegetables.
It's good for you physically, but even just the like mental act of like, I'm eating something healthy right now. Like that's gonna boost your spirits just to like the physical act of taking care of yourself, right? So having
Yeah, I like going
healthy
to a
snacks.
grocery store
Yeah.
on the road a lot. Like,
It's also a good way to keep costs down. If you're
yeah,
not.
like I always get like an iced tea jug or an apple juice jug, and then like some snacks that aren't healthy, but you can get healthy snacks at
Yeah.
the grocery store. They do exist there, but it is a way of like you have something that's in the car the whole time.
Yeah.
The family-sized bag of chips at the grocery store is a lot cheaper than the individual chips
Yeah.
at a gas station. I think that's a thing too to keep costs down.
Don't buy stuff at the gas station. Yes.
it's
Oh my
wild.
God. Yes. Yes. That took a little while to get
Yeah.
out of that habit, but once we got out of that habit, it's huge. I take a jet boil and instant coffee, like
Nice.
because now coffee's like $4.50, so it's like,
Man.
why not just make it yourself? Before I forget too, another like thing. This is like a little bit bigger and less accessible of a tip, but we travel we'll often travel with professional battery speakers and like mic stands and or cords to set up like a battery PA, because when we're petitioning to play in like stopover locations, maybe we see a brewery that we want to play with, but they don't have a sound system, but they're a small room. We, depending on your band, depending on your musical makeup, can still put on a show that way with these these speakers that we're used to, that we know how to operate. And then that way it allows us to play somewhere that maybe we weren't able to play before and form a new relationship that, you know, we weren't able to make before. So yeah, as a musician, depending on what you're doing, investing in like a little battery speaker, especially if you're like a vocalist or, you know, a guitarist too, that's a great thing to have too. So yeah, definitely taking those on tour.
Or renting one from
Yeah,
Long and
totally.
McQuaid.
Yes.
It's cheap. My one health tip I want to add is don't get the French fries every night. When you're getting free dinner, if they have a salad, eat the salad.
Yeah, yeah.
Your body will thank you. It's something I've had to learn, like playing a lot of shows just at home too. French fries they're delicious, but
Yeah.
it'll
Stuff
get
no
you.
one wants to hear.
Yeah.
Sad but true.
Yeah. Treat yourself sometimes, though. You're still trying to have fun. And on that topic, how do you make sure that your tour stays fun?
I keep fidget toys in the car. that kills hours and hours. But yeah, I think just making sure that you create a safe space will invite conversation and laughter. And some of the best times I've had on tour are just sitting around and talking with my band. You know.
Yeah, I feel like I was saying this the other day to someone, but touring is like the one place that I feel is still sacred where, I mean, I don't know what it's like to tour with other people or people who are always on their phones or something, but I always feel like touring is the one place where it's like we forget phones exist. And it's like, it takes me back to what it felt like when I was in school and maybe like elementary, where you're like in science class and you become best friends with someone just because they're sitting next to you and you have the best time ever. And I feel like as adults, a lot of hangouts end up being like, we go for coffee and we talk about, you know, work or like some of our feelings, and then we separate ways and we don't see each other for another 6 months. But sometimes I'm like, are we having fun? And I feel like when you go on tour, when you're in the van, there are things that are said that can never leave the van.
Yeah.
Like I remember
Yes.
one time we were like on a really long tour and we were playing this house show, and I went to tell a story in the microphone about something we had talked about in the van, but it was not something, it was like an okay thing to say in the microphone. And everyone in the band and everyone that was traveling with us like looked at me like, don't repeat that into the microphone, that stays in the van. Because you become your like silliest, weirdest self. And I feel like you get accepted for it because you're spending so many hours together that you can't just put up that like, you know, if you see me at the end of my show for 2 hours, that's not the same me that's, you know, at 9 a.m. the next day, because it's like you're feeling different feelings. So I feel like when you're in a van or car, whatever it is you're traveling in, for that long with someone, it's like, it gets rid of all of that sort of like, hi, how are you? How have you been? What are you taking in school? Oh, your girlfriend said what? And you have 3 sisters. Like, it just gets rid of all of that because you're like, sometimes you're like, I can't remember. Do you have 2 sisters? Like, and yet I know so much about the way you feel as a person. I just feel like it cuts out all that bullshit because you're just with each other so much, which is very similar to like when you were in elementary school and it's like you didn't have a choice who was in your grade 3 class, you know, and you're playing on the playground every day with that person. It didn't have this like handshaking quality to it.
Yes.
And I feel like, yeah, if you know, again, you're touring with your friends, but you become friends because of the hours and hours spent together. And the beautiful thing about it that I found is somebody that's very guarded and like expresses myself pretty much through art, and everywhere else I kind of hide in like my house and like hermit like. That touring has kind of allowed me to realize that I can be accepted for who I am and I can be myself in spaces still. Because I feel like with social media and like everything being documented, we can kind of get like vigilant in the wrong way. It's good to be like a better person, and it's good to be like certain terms we don't use and stuff like that people maybe didn't know and now they do. I'm like, that's important. But I think sometimes we're almost to a point where we're so vigilant that we're no longer just being like, I like this band, or it's just this sort of like tennis match conversation sometimes that happens in adulthood, and you lose the connection. And I feel like when you tour with people, it kind of forces that to just die. And maybe he's there for the first 2 hours, but then you're like, we got 8 hours to go. I might as well tell you the story that happened to me as a kid that would take like 20 hangouts with someone else to tell you. Like whether it's trauma or whether it's a joyful memory, it's just like you just get to the nitty gritty, and I do love that about it.
So really making sure you're traveling with the right people.
Yes, definitely. Because it's like, yeah, there's days where I'm like, I don't feel good, or like I feel sad. And it's like if I were in a vehicle with people where I couldn't turn to them and be like, my mental health isn't great today. And that they would just be like, I would be like, I can't do this. Because it's like, my mental health's not great, and now I got to go up on stage and sing about it again. It's nice when you have people that are like, hey, I got you, you know?
Yeah, so well put. The only other thing I wanted to add to that too is like, aside from being in the van with your friends too, I think what you're talking about is so important because you're touching on just like being in the moment and being in a state of play and creativity.
Yeah.
And those conversations only happen when you are like fully in the moment.
Yes, yeah.
So I think a huge key to having fun when you're on the road and doing like all of this hard work is allowing yourself to be in the moment, which is super hard if you're especially the one organizing the tour, because you're constantly thinking about what you're doing next, where you're going next, who needs what next. But
paying everyone, like that's something that I've had to learn to like be at peace with.
Yeah.
When I first toured, the whole time I was stressed because I was like, I'm paying for everything.
Yeah.
So every, and then I'm like, I really hope that the gig is at least I'm breaking even. And so they're not having to think about that because it's like they're getting the same money every night and I'm stressing. And then one day I just kind of went, I don't know, I'm a very like death positive person. Every time I'm doing anything like this, I'm like, don't bring it up. But I do believe that like what allows me sometimes to stay grounded or present or allow those like unhappy moments is to just be like, holy shit, like I will be dead one day and I won't get to do this forever. And so it allows me sometimes like even the shittiest show where I look out and I'm like, what am I doing here? Why did I drive all this way? Why did I bring that? Like, I'm going to lose money tonight. I'm so stressed about this that I'll just like have a moment where I'm like, I think of my like little self and I'm like, you're on a stage singing songs that you wrote or choosing to cover. Like no one's making you do the music that you do. That's completely your own choice. And your friend, like it's, I think sometimes it is just realizing that it's not forever. It will not be forever. It just simply is like everything in life is that way. And I think sometimes I just like, I stop for a moment or like, you know, I often find that I'm somebody where it's like, I'll put my eyeliner on and I don't even make connection to the fact that I'm putting it on my own eyes. It's just like, okay, is it even? Okay, good. And I don't like make a connection that it's like, that's me. Same with like listening to a recording back. I don't go, that's me. That's who I am. I disassociate from it and then just critique it on a level of like, you know, I lose sight sometimes of like, that is me. That's awesome that that's me. I could be doing something that I didn't want to be doing. I could be working a job that I hated and making more money. But at the end of the day, it's like, I'm pretty glad that like if tomorrow something happened to me and I was like laying on a deathbed, sorry to bring that up, but I would be like, you know what? That show in Saskatoon that had 2 people or that show in Saskatoon that got canceled because we didn't sell enough tickets, I'm glad that I tried. I'm glad that I did it and I'm glad I lived my life like that.
Hell yeah. Yeah, framing things is so important for just your mental health in general.
Yeah.
Also, you kind of have like a Day of the Dead vibe kind of going on.
I realized
I couldn't help but notice.
That was not intentional.
When you guys are trying to make the most out of a tour, do you have any tips for promoting shows with little or $0?
I think I've always promoted shows for $0. Unless it's like I've paid for a poster and I asked someone to poster it, but those always get taken down. So I don't know. I think just social media, like building, you know, I hate saying it. I don't know why. I just like it feels so like artificial sometimes, but I do feel like treating social media is just like, again, another way of connecting to real people and promoting it that way and hoping that people like your music. Like the biggest thing is like we live as artists and we go like, I maybe wrote this song that I'm really proud of and everyone should know it exists. And it's like, how are they going to know it exists if they've never seen you? It's not a, you know, a slight towards you or your music, but it's like, how do people know you exist if they don't hear it? And that was a big learning lesson for me because I was very much like, yeah, I'll write the song. And it's like someone else had to be like, you should play that on a stage. And I was like, not a chance in hell I'm going to do that in front of people. And then booked the show and was like, oh, I'm getting $100. Okay, I'll do it for $100. Oh, and then I got on stage and I was like, oh, I've never felt more myself in my life. Oh my God, I'm addicted to this feeling of like total vulnerability. And yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but we all die, so.
Might as well let them know you're here while you're here.
Yes. Exactly. Let them know you're here. Who cares? Don't be afraid to be like, you know, I felt really silly the first time. I was like, okay, I'm gonna put my camera up and just take a video of myself playing a song. And I was like, oh, this doesn't feel natural. And then like one time I just went, this is literally what you're doing on stage in front of a microphone. The phone is just the microphone. The phone is just the seat that's there, the floor and the palomino. It's the same thing. And if you just treat it like that, there might be somebody like, you know, through social media, I feel like that's the only way I've been able to tour. I don't know that anyone would know who I was or have ever heard my songs if not for that. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's like ways to be really smart about how you're sharing too, like taking the time to research all of the accounts that you could possibly tag in your promo. Like, so, you know, maybe a venue, but maybe like the booker of the venue has a personal account. So like, just like really sharing your stories and tagging like all of the people, all of the personal accounts of your bandmates, for example, so that your bandmates can share the post too. Like just making everything as shareable as possible. Again, this is like probably redundant information, but don't forget to do that because it's just super vital in like new towns as well to leverage the connections that you may or may not have there.
TikTok is really great. Hate to say it. I've been an IG Instagram girly for a long time. And I've like in the last year, I was like, oh, okay, I'll just like make a TikTok account. And then I was like, if you tag your location of being where your show will be. So like if I was playing Winnipeg and I, you know, posted the video in Calgary, I would put the location as Winnipeg or even the location as the venue. But I think it's better to be less specific because you're going to connect with people that are in that town. And like the last few times that I've played, people came out that saw me. And literally, I think also finding a way to like, I think when people talk about curation, it can get kind of like artificial again and muddy. I think curation is just like, what do you curate when you go on stage? Is it like how you do your hair, how you do your makeup, or what you wear to allow that like inner being that's inside of you that is authentic to feel like it can shine? And I feel like if you approach that with social media with like an authenticity, that goes further because I do see, not to be negative, but like I do see sometimes people who are trying to promote themselves on social media and it gives a very much like I took a business class, a how-to course. I read a book on how to do this and now I'm doing that. And I'm like, I don't connect with that. And you forget that it's like, who are you doing that for? If you want people, like think about when you go to a show and treat yourself always as an audience member, not just the musician or the songwriter. I think sometimes when you get far in a career of any kind, you forget what it was like, you know, to be just the person that buys the ticket. So you sometimes have to be like, how can I remember that feeling? What made me buy a ticket to somebody, like you said earlier, that showed up on Instagram? For me, it's often that I was like, I liked the music. Let's, you know, at the end of the day, that's kind of, it does come down to that a lot, unfortunately. But I think that, yeah, if people don't know you exist, how do they know that? But yeah, TikTok, the algorithm is a lot better than Instagram. It sucks, I don't know. I wish there was another option, but it is a way if you're gonna use the phone, you know, take a break from the scrolling.
Yeah.
Do something productive.
I have one more tip too, if we have time.
We have, I think, 30 minutes left.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
If we need it.
Okay, so as far as promoting out-of-town shows on a budget, this is very much weather dependent and time dependent and like geographically dependent. But if you have an acoustic instrument, get out on the streets and busk before your show. This is huge. I am a huge proponent of busking. I'm a huge promoter of busking because it thickens your skin as a musician. It removes your music from the context of a venue where it's taken for granted and instead forces you to like ask for people's attention and like, you know, really fight for people's attention. So you naturally develop your artistic practice when you're busking, but also if you're playing on the street say you have a few hours before your show or say you get to the town the day before, and you're out on the street playing music, anybody who hears it and enjoys what you're doing and comes up to talk to you, there's an opportunity to promote your show as well. So I've done that like many times with Peter in Montreal, like on the streets, just like, hey, we're playing tomorrow, let's go out busk. And then, yeah, I mean, it's fun too if you like it. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
Was there any worry about like permits or anything for that, or do you just kind of if someone shuts you down, you just go with the
So as a person who's busked in like many towns across Canada, I've never had a problem in Canada before. The only problem I've ever had busking was in London, where London is a super highly surveyed city. So there's like cameras everywhere, there's security guards everywhere, there's like everything is private property. So I would say like a town like that might be a little bit harder to like find space, but there's so much space in Canada and in the cities that we live in that I've never had a problem with that before. So go for it. Like don't let a permit stop you. Yeah. And just be like really cute if someone comes up and, you know, it's, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know, you know. There's, yeah, really, yeah. I don't want to guarantee nothing bad's going to happen, but nothing bad's happened to me, so.
I'm going to ask one more question, and then we'll invite some audience questions. Do you have, especially in Western Canada, talking about regional touring, a couple sneaky favorite venues that you have played at
Do you want to say
that
it
you
at
would
the same
recommend?
time?
Oh my gosh. I have to think.
You have to think? Okay, mine is easy. The Royal in Nelson, BC.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Hands down,
yeah.
the Royal in Nelson, BC, super supportive of artists.
Yeah.
Nelson's a little hard to like. It's tough to get to. So like planning a route down on the number 3, it's a bit of more of an intense drive for sure. But Nelson's a really fun town, and Mark, who runs the venue there, is amazing. He's so
Yeah.
good to people.
And it's crazy that they named the town after.
Yeah, they named it after
Amy.
me. Yeah, I didn't even think of it. But yeah, I love that.
It's hard to find one that beats that. Really,
yeah,
you
it's
know?
incredible. Like you can play, and you have your sound check, and you're like, oh, okay, this is great venue. Mark is so nice, and you just think, oh, maybe no one will come. I don't know. Every time, I think that every time I play a show.
Yeah.
And there's been shows there where I was just like, I felt like I just made it. I was like, this is the best feeling. Like, and yeah, you drive. Sometimes it's hard to find shows along that route, but it's always worth it. That's a great venue.
And the people in Nelson, like they're there to
Totally.
They
dance
show
and
up
vibe and
party. Yes, absolutely. And small BC towns are like that very often too. Like, you know, Golden's another great stopover town. Like the Rockwater Grill in Golden is a great gig. And again, super accommodating to artists. One piece of advice that I would herald is touring in BC in shoulder season. Kind of tough. Kind of tough to get people out. So I've learned that lesson a couple times now. So just be thoughtful about if you're going to like smaller touristic or seasonal towns, just be thoughtful about when you're going to
Yeah,
those
that's a good
places.
point. Yeah.
you also never know if a blizzard's gonna hit.
Uh-huh.
I have had to drive through, didn't have to, drove through a blizzard in mid-October going to Kelowna, and looking back, it is okay to cancel shows.
Yeah.
If it is unsafe to get to your venue, just don't go.
Yeah.
That's something that I've had to learn the hard way a few times, and yeah, people will understand.
I want to throw it out there that anyone who like wants more recommendations for like actual venues in Western Canada, especially, can feel free to contact me, and surely Amy too, because I will just give you like a list of places that I've been at before and enjoy. So I won't go into it now, but yeah.
Nice. Does anyone have questions?